to the December wrap-up, the last wrap-up of 2024. Let's get into all the books that I read last month. Let's start with statistics. We all love numbers, alright? In December, I read 18 books, which for myself is not a lot, but I'm actually kind of proud of myself for taking it a little slower than I do most months. Now, some of them I have here in paper form, others I only have the ebooks for. We don't really care, do we? We're just gonna dive right in because this month I actually went back into fantasy. Some of these books you already saw in the video, so I'm just gonna go over them real quick. First up being the popular book, the book everybody is talking about, Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. This is a fantasy book. Who would have thought? In which our main character lives in a horrible world that is suppressed, right? Think of like the Red Queen, the powerless world. You know, everything is not fine. And then our female main character is like, she steals something, she's a thief. And she gets caught, and then she's supposed to be executed, but suddenly she travels into the fairy realm in order to save her people, save her little brother, save a bunch of people actually, from this super oppressive queen. It's fun, it's magical. I know this book is super hyped right now, okay? It's like one of the most popular books on Book Talk, I feel like. Don't let that discourage you. The book was good. The book was fine. It wasn't my new favorite, by no means, okay? It was a solid, good choice of a book. It was fun. Was it the best book I read last year? No, not by a mile. But it was good. It was fun. I had a good time. And I think that's what matters, right? We care about the books that are just fun. All in all, happy with Quicksilver. Would recommend. And we're moving on. The next book is actually one of my favorites. This is The Dagger and the Flame. Again, we're in a like fantasy realm where there's kind of like two, I want to say cults, because in my mind they are a cult. We have a magical system that depends on like a flower that is grinded into a powder. So you take this flower powder and you either become a cloak or a dagger. Now, our female protagonist comes home, her mother deals with this powder, right? She produces that. But when she comes home, her mother is dead, killed by the daggers. So she sets out to find the cloaks, join them in order to get revenge. However, there is this guy who works for the daggers, and his mission is to kill her. The two of them aren't the only problems that there are, because there are actual monsters in the world. Where is the sun coming from? I thought the sun was not going to be here today. Sun is still here, we're closing the blinds, we're fine. Let's go back to The Dagger and the Flame, which is a very fun enemies to lovers with very high stakes and an enemy and a whole bunch of family complications. It's fun. I went into this thinking it was going to be a standalone. Spoiler alert, it's not a standalone. There is going to be a second book. There is probably also going to be a third book. And I have to wait because, of course, this book came out last September and the second one is probably being written right now. So that's not fun. But other than that, I can highly recommend this book because it was a blast and I had a great time. I think that's all you need to know. Sticking with the fantasy books. The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Clarissa Broadbent. Can we say a praise just like for Clarissa Broadbent? She does the Lord's work. Honestly, I love everything she's ever written and I've ever read. I've only read 4 of her books, but I think they're all incredible. In the Crowns of Nyxia series, we're starting out with The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then The Ashes of the Star-Crossed King. Now, these two are a separate duology. This is book 3, which is also book 1 in its own duology, right? You understand that. There's going to be 6 books separated into 3 duologies. They're technically interconnected, but you don't need to read the first ones to read this one. This super fun. Let me tell you what it's about. We have this, again, fantasy world of vampires, alright? I love myself some vampires. They might even be, like, second only to dragons, my favorite mystical creature ever. Not Edward Cullen, though, okay? This man? No. He is, in my own eyes, not a vampire. Does not cut it. Back to these vampires. Our female main character, as so many are, was originally not a vampire. She was a priestess to the sun god, so kind of like the opposite of a vampire, because we have like vampires who burn in the sun, right? Now, she got revenge on the guy who turned her into a vampire, killed him. His family caught her and was like, you know what, you're gonna die for this. But then his stepbrother is coming up and being like, nope-see daisy, I need her for a mission. So he takes her to hell, right down the stairs we go to hell, and down there they have to find certain clues in all the levels of hell to revive the god of the dead. This is so much fun. I had a blast while reading this. The romance was so good, so cute, so adorable, but also like so filled with hatred because they're of course they're enemies. Of course they are. It is a little spicy, but definitely not too much, right? It's just like 1 or 2 scenes. You're gonna be fine. I promise you, you're gonna be okay. I loved it, and I hope you do too, because let's be honest, I want you to read it. I want you to read all the books. I'm telling you, okay? We're communicating. Here, see this? Read it. I love Carissa Broadbent. She never misses. Alrighty, last fantasy book of the bunch is The Darkness Within Us. Now, this is technically the second book to The Shadows Between Us, which is one of my all-time favorite fantasy enemies to lovers have come to kill you books. In this one, we're talking about her sister. So I would say they're kind of like interconnected standalones in the sense that it's her sister, but nothing else matters that happened before, right? We have like a kind of Bridgerton world where, with like all the royalty and stuff, so our female main character gets married off to this really, really, really old guy, and she's always like, I don't like you, but I have to do this because one day you're gonna die and then I'm gonna be free. So instead of waiting, she actually kills him, which is very fun. And then she thinks she's free, but then suddenly there's this guy who appears and he's like, you know, the dude that died, he was my grandpa. You don't actually get the money, I do. She doesn't believe him though because she's a strong, independent woman and she thinks she deserves the money. So she goes on, investigates him. Things about him are shady. Things are wrong with him. We don't know exactly what in the beginning. We're gonna figure it out. Overall, she is like one of the biggest badasses characters that is so much fun. We have a cameo of the people from the first book, obviously her sister, right? That she's gonna be in this as well sometimes, but it's fun. It's very, very fun because the banter between those two characters, chef's kiss, it's so good. It's like, it's the best. The best. Anyway, this is The Darkness Within Us, and it's so much fun. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, alright? We're just gonna call it a rabbit hole of monster romance. Again, it's me. Like, what do you expect from me? At this point, are we surprised that I'm reading monster romance? No, we're not. We are absolutely not surprised. This is the first one that I'm calling a monster romance, even though, is it really? Yes, it is. He's the Loch Ness Monster. It is literally the definition of a monster romance. This is Under Lock and Key. It's very fun because his name is Lachlan and her name is Key. It's Kienna, but her name is Key, right? I specifically listened to the audiobook of this and it was very fun. However, understanding the Scottish accent, very hard. As I've already said, this is a Loch Ness Monster romance. She's new in town, right? She goes back to her hometown. Her dad left for some weird reason. We don't exactly know why. There is a kind of magic there, obviously, because the Loch Ness Monster exists. So she meets this guy and he kind of is very rude to her and he doesn't understand her and everyone is mean. All she wants to do is spread her dad's ashes because her dad recently passed away, right? She meets this guy, Lachlan, who works at her grandma's farm and is very, very rude and grumpy, and who is also transforming into the Loch Ness Monster at nighttime. It is fun. It is fun because together they decide that they want to break his curse because, as it turns out, her family cursed his family. It's cute, it's fun, it's very spicy though, okay? Monster romance as a genre, very spicy. If you're not into that, please don't read them. Like, there are half transformations happening during certain scenes. It's fun. And I had a great time. Honestly, Lana Ferguson books, they hit the spot. They always hit the spot. Every single one of her books was a banger. I don't make the rules. I don't. I do. Actually, I think I do make the rules. Now, next up, I read Omegaverse books, 2 of them. This is a pack for autumn and a pack for winter. Now, if you're not familiar with Omegaverse, I would say this is a good place to start, actually. She ends up with multiple people, always. These books might look cute, but it's all in there. Like the nesting, the nodding, the heat, all of the things. in here. These are so spicy, but they don't look like it. Anyway, they're fun. In its essential form, if I'm having a bad day, one of these books is getting me out of that bad day. Okay? I can guarantee you, these books will always get me out of there. And maybe you should try them. These are fun. And I repeat that a lot of times, okay? These are very, very fun. I also read another Omegaverse fanfiction. This one, it's called Not Happening Again. Do I technically remember what it was about? No. It's just that it was a Omegaverse and it was fun. Hold on, let me Google. Our female protagonist, she is an Omega. Of course she is. That's the whole point of this. And she was rejected by an Alpha years ago. Now, she has some issues and she wants to go into like a controlled heat. So she calls up a service and is like, hey, I need help. And they pair her with this pack of 5 guys. Things get spicy, things get hot. Obviously, they immediately are like, my scent match. If you're not familiar with all the things I'm just saying, like all these Omegaverse words I'm using, don't worry, you're gonna be fine. It's all explained, okay? It's very easy to get in. This was also fun. There were a lot of feelings. I was crying way too much for the fact that it was only supposed to be a spicy romance. Let's be honest, I read most of these books not because of the spice, but because they are very drama-free, right? Because all of these books focus so much on the spicy parts, they lack in the story, and therefore I like them more sometimes to like get me out of a bad place, because there is nothing bad happening here. And the spice, we can just like skip it. It's not important. I don't really care about that. This is the point where I would say we listen and we don't judge, because I read Morning Glory Milking Farm and I absolutely adored this book. Yes, it is an interesting choice. The cover, horrible. The title, worse. Why would you call a book that? The book itself, the romance, was one of my favorite things ever because it was so cute, so adorable, so drama-free. I absolutely adored it. So our female protagonist works at a milking farm for minotaurs. Now, if you want to imagine that, you can. You can also just not. Technically, it's a pharmaceutical company. Her job is to milk the minotaurs, essentially. For some reason, in this book, it was described so cleanly because it was her job that it didn't feel like it was spice. It was just her job because there was no emotion in it, right? But then she falls for one of the minotaurs who is like her client, and it's actually very cute because he is adorable. He is this big bulky guy who's like double her size, but he is adorable and he just wants to be a good boyfriend to her, and that's all that matters to him. That is why I read those books, because all of the people are just fluffy. The romance is just cute and fluffy and you want to hug people. That is it. Just let it be known that I would never judge you for anything that you read. I am talking about these books online so that you don't have to feel bad for reading any books that might be a little taboo. Anyway, let's move on to a book that is not technically monster romance, but kind of a supernatural romance, I guess. When Gracie Met the Grump. I went into this expecting a romance, like a classic contemporary romance. What I got was Superman fanfiction. Let's be honest, this book is Superman fanfiction and it's fun. So this guy ends up in our female main protagonist's front door in her garden. He lands, he falls from the sky. Alright? And she's like, oh, he is one of the main superheroes of the Earth. What's he doing here? We don't know what he's doing there. I mean, I know because I read the book, but you don't know, and that's what's important. So, he ends up there, he's super weak, and she carries him into her house. Things get wild because for some reason she's also fleeing from the mafia. Don't ask me why. Anyway, they kind of catch her and then they take him as well. And then they're in prison and they have to get out, but he's still weak. A lot of things happen. It feels like you're reading Man of Steel fanfiction because of course he's an alien. I liked it though. I had a great time. It's by Mariana Zapata and honestly, she also never misses. So that was fun. It was a good time. Good book, good time. Contemporary romance. I read a few, a good chunk. Let me start with the Christmas romance I read. This is The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is essentially, I mean, it's also a little magical, alright? But I wouldn't classify it as a magical romance. A little supernatural, which is why it's going first. Essentially, we have the son of Christmas and the son of Halloween. Well, technically, they're the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween. Our Prince of Christmas, our main character, okay, Cole. Don't judge the names. Cole is supposed to marry his best friend, the Princess of Easter. However, he knows that his brother is deeply in love with his Princess of Easter. All of these people are bisexual, by the way, which I love. Then, when he's like down in the depths after his last relationship kind of failed, in this pub, he kisses this guy. He doesn't know who he is. He thought he imagined it because he was so drunk. 3 years later, when he's supposed to marry the girl, right, the Princess of Easter, this guy shows up and he's like, I'm the Prince of Halloween, I'm gonna claim Easter as well. Like, you can't have all the holidays. You're already a huge franchise. Let's not make it any worse. So Halloween comes in and is like, I'm here for the party, people. So, as it turns out, they both immediately are like, oh, I like this person. So they fall in love. And it's cute, it's adorable. There's a little bit of, like, politics sprinkled into it in the funniest and best way possible. It's so much fun. It is Christmassy, but not too Christmassy, right? I would probably also read this in June, but then again, I also listen to Christmas music in June. So I don't think I'm the norm here. I'm just a weird person that we all accept because I look cute. Where did I go wrong? Where did I get lost? I'm not sure. Anyway, this is a fun book. I had a great time reading it, and I'm probably also gonna read the next book of that series. Another Christmas book, well, more like a Christmas novella that I read was Can I Tell You Something? So, our female protagonist, she goes to this cabin every single year, and this year her brother is bringing his, like, old friend from college with him, right? So, turns out this guy, he works... like, his job is to make spicy audios for, like, your personal pleasure, right? That's what he does. That's his side hustle. Of course, this man also has, like, a very respectable other job, but that's his side hustle, which is actually a real job. Anyway, this man is then like, nobody knows. And she's like, I know. Because I listen to his audios, right? So then he figures out that she knows, she figures out he knows, he makes audios for her in this cabin, and they kind of hit it off, and it's fun, and it's cute, and it's all I ever wanted. It's a short, very romantic, very spicy Christmas romance. Who are we kidding? That's exactly what I needed to read on Christmas Day. So I did. Well, let's move away from Christmas. We've had enough Christmas. Christmas is over, okay? This, I didn't like. I'm just gonna say that out front. This is My Ex-Boyfriend's Brothers. You've heard that correctly. So she is planning her ex-boyfriend's wedding and then hooks up with all 3 of his brothers. Let's be honest, this one was not for me. I was confused. Sure, the ex-boyfriend, he's horrible. He deserves to lie in the ditch somewhere. But I just overall was kind of uncomfortable. I don't mind if people share their girlfriend, right? If that's your thing, that's your thing. Fine, do whatever you want, right? My book people, do whatever they want. I will love you no matter what. But, here's the big but. They're brothers. The 3 of them are brothers, and they're actively sharing her, which just... I have boundaries, and that's my boundary. You have the comfort zone, right? And then you have weird, and you have disturbing. This one was in the weird, not in the disturbing part. At least it was consensual. That should not be the bar. The bar is not that low. Sticking with books that were a little ill. I don't want to say it. I don't. Highly suspicious and unfairly cute. I tried. I did my best, but I couldn't do it. I absolutely hated the fact that I hated the book. I don't know what else to tell you. I just found it super, super hard to relate to either of those characters. Bradley, the guy, he's like the football star, the popular guy, right? But he's also nice. So I thought I could relate to him. I somehow couldn't. I just didn't feel the connection. We were not one, right? We were 2 different people and we never met. And then there's Celine, our female main character, who I also thought I could relate to, but I couldn't. She is very much into conspiracy theories and posts on TikTok a lot, which, sure, I also post on TikTok a lot, but at the same time, I don't actually want TikTok to exist in my books. I read small town cowboy romances for a reason, people. The sun is back. What's up with the weather? But anyway, the 2 of them then decide to sign up to like a survival adventure trip together, not voluntarily together, right? He also accidentally leads to her breaking her arm. It was an accident, right? He didn't do anything horrible. It wasn't like that he was hurting her, but she broke her arm. I think it was weird. For some reason, I didn't like the book, and I was so angry at myself because I was so hyped for it, and then I didn't like it. But maybe you do. Maybe you're also into conspiracy theories, and you can relate a little more to the characters. But anyway, I tried, and I failed. The next book is Archer. I read Archer, and after being done with reading the book, 20 seconds later, I already forgot everything that this book was about. It is like a bodyguard protection kind of romance, where she goes into witness protection and then fakes her own death, which that's a choice you can make. 4 years later, right, he is heartbroken because he was supposed to protect her and he also kind of fell in love with her. So then she comes back 4 years later into this small town as a tattoo artist, and he lives in this small town. What are the chances? Very high, because she actually did that on purpose. But she comes back, she's back in town, she's back in business, and so is he. And he's weirdly confused because he thought she died. She didn't actually die. The people who are looking for her, they're coming back. Of course they are. People are getting hurt. It's fun. Am I weird for saying this? I don't think I'm weird. I think I'm a regular person who just enjoys people dying in my books. No one can blame me for that. Anyway, the book was fun, the book was entertaining. That's all I can say. We're moving on. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Stupid son. Because the last books, it's a series that I read, is this one. Now, this one it was advertised to me on TikTok. I know, best source in the world, as very spicy masked gamer romance. I would say it's normal spice level, very little on the masks, but gamer romance. And I'm here for the romance, so I didn't care about the other stuff, but it was very fun. First book first, good game. It was a good book and a good game. So we have our main character, and they are part of this gamer group of those 3 gamers who all wear masks because they have hidden identities, and they stream, right? They stream some kind of shooters. I'm not a pro at games, okay? I play The Sims and Stardew Valley. Don't talk to me. Anyway, we have this female main character who they then meet, and she kind of has this thing for him, but also for him in the mask. She kind of falls for both identities, and I don't like that. Because to me, falling for both of these identities feels kind of like the cheating trope, because our main character is super confused because she likes both of them without knowing that they're the same person, but they are the same person. Now that's what I don't enjoy, so I had struggles with the first book. Now the second book, Forbidden Games, is about the second streamer guy who kind of has a thing for their PR person. That was fun. However, he's also British and he's rich. He's a billionaire. So he has this clause with his grandpa that he has to give up the rights to his company because he's supposed to be the heir to this huge hotel company, but he just wants to be a gamer. Don't we all just want to be gamers or readers? Living the dream here. So he has to win this huge tournament in order to still get his inheritance. It's fun. I had a great time. However, I did not have as good of a time as I did with the absolute last book of today and the last book in that series, which is Fake Game. It's just me and my favorite trope, fake dating again. We are like this. I love fake dating so much, and this one had it. This is about a different streamer. This one is more up my alley, by the way. She's a cozy game streamer, and she starts to hang out with this guy because horrible things happen to her, like the police is at her door, she gets doxxed. It's not a fun time. So she has to move out, and he's like, you know what? I'm not leaving you there. You're moving in with me. He's the quiet person, but at the same time, out of the 3 of them, he's also the kinkiest person, because, like, he ties her up. But it's fun, in a fun way, okay? In a respectful way. I just remembered who watches these videos, and, like, my entire family does. So you're welcome for the inside of my brain right now. Anyway, this one was my favorite book, because I could relate to our female main character so much. I forgot her name. Okay? The reason I'm saying female main character in every single one of these books is because I forget the names. I'm horrible with names, but that's not the point here I'm trying to make, okay? I absolutely adored this book. This was my favorite out of the 3. It was so much fun, and I loved reading it. I cried again so much. Could also be because I started my period, but at the same time, I just cried my eyes out all the time when reading this book. I'm not complaining. A good cry is always good. And with that, we are at the end. We started with fantasy romance, we ended with crying. It's fine, it's a wrap, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I certainly did. I enjoyed this a lot. If you did too, please leave a like down below. Tell me about your favorite book of the month in the comments down below, and I will see you for the next video that I make. Bye everybody, and have an awesome new year. It's already the 3rd, isn't it? Well, I still hope you have a great New Year's. I spent my New Year's Eve in my bed reading with noise-canceling headphones on, which was the perfect way to spend New Year's Eve. Although I'm still still working on the book I started, because I started like a thick 800-page fantasy book, and I'm still working on it. I read another book in between because I needed a break. Sometimes you just need a break. It's fine, okay? My New Year's resolution this year is to not judge myself. I don't judge other people, I just judge myself, and I don't want to do that anymore. Anyway, I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!